Still my eyes and I will see you through on this bittersweet journey. Take my hand and I will lead you to the so-called end. Hold me tight and I'll forgive you for making me stay. Tell me lies and then I'll leave you, 'cause lies are made. You better be strong for me. I said you better be strong for me. You better be strong for me.
Solomon stared at me with that predatory gaze. He didn't care that others watched him and were afraid of him, including me. Even the men who spoke to him began to fidget uncomfortable, standing next to such barely contained power. I think you should get the young king a drink. He's making your guest a little edgy, if you know what I mean, Prince Ali said to Margaret. She looked up and smiled at him. Yes, you are right. And one for this young lady here too. She finally acknowledged me. And who do we have here? The prince asked. I now had the attention of the whole little group. They all stared at me and the hairs on the back of my neck stood again. Something wasn't right here. Solomon has brought home a little sacrifice for tonight's festivities. She laughed at her own joke, and the others joined. I smiled, very, very uncomfortable. What the hell did she mean, sacrifice? She patted my hand, but this time when she touched me, I felt physically ill. Pleased to meet you, I whispered as I took my hand away from Margaret's, because I felt like I was going to vomit. I received instant relief as I took a few steps away from her. Come, dear, she said to me. Do walk with us, Prince, she cooed as she glided to the glass bar. Two of tonight's specials for my son and his guest, she asked the bartender, batting her big eyes at him. He smiled as he quickly fulfilled her request, putting 2 champagne glasses filled with pretty pink liquor on the bar before sliding them to her. It's pretty, I said as she pushed one of the glasses in my hand. Taste it, dear. I lifted it to my lips and I took a small sip. It was good. It tastes like strawberry champagne, if that was such a thing. No, silly. Taste it. She pushed my hand holding the glass back to my lips. This time I drank it until it was gone. Then I gave a little burp as the bubbles tickled my nose. It is good. What is it called? I asked. She smiled at me, her flawless makeup making her appear 20 years younger. I call it Witch's Brew. Prince Ali, she said, before she took the other drink and glided across the floor. Witch's Brew? Stormy, what's happening to you? You look like you've seen a ghost. Prince Ali laughed, taking my elbow, pulling me back to stand closer to him. When he touched me, I flinched because it was almost too painful to bear. My stomach began to feel queasy again. When he took his hand away, I felt instant relief. What is the witch's brew? I asked, trying not to panic. What have I done? My mind screamed. Stormy, calm down. It's just strawberry liqueur, vodka and champagne. He looked at me in only the way the filthy rich could. I exhaled, relieved. Oh, the name just threw me, that's all. I put my hand on my stomach trying to settle it. Here, he said, have another. He shoved a glass of pink liquor in my hand. So, okay. Some of you out there listening to my tale will know where I'm coming from when I say I had come to a crossroad. You see, Princey here has assured me that the drink was harmless. Well, how harmless could a drink called Witch's Brew be? I mean, it's the principality of the situation, right? For the third time that night, the hair stood on the back of my neck. I looked up and my eyes connected with Solomon's angry ones from across the room. His anger was so real that it stole my breath. What did I do? I looked at the prince next to me, confused, and looked up just in time to see that he was leaning close to me, smelling me. He winked at me when he saw that I saw him. I took 2 quick steps away from him, my panic gaze flying back across the room to Solomon's. His anger was still there. He spoke to the men who were standing there talking to him without looking at them. Judging by his body language, he was excusing himself. And judging by the way his rage-filled eyes landed to the prince, he was headed our way. Right then, his mother stepped in front of him, smiling up at him as she addressed the other men in the group. She handed him the glass of pink liquor. He impatiently turned it up and drank it down before he moved as if he was going to go around her. But she glided in his way again, stopping the waiter that carried a whole tray of the pink liquor. She handed Solomon another glass. He said something angry down to her. The back of her head was to me, so I couldn't see what she said to him. But he drank the liquor down before slamming the glass on the table, shattering it. The men that were standing there slipped away, giving Solomon space. Even his mother quickly stepped to the side, watching him go. But she didn't have a worried look on her face. No. In fact, she looked down at the shattered glass and smiled. "Oh man," I said when I saw him coming our way. The crowd just seemed to part for their dark king, his anger a real, living, breathing thing. I drank down the glass of champagne Prince whatever his name handed me. "It was nice meeting you," I told him. "I've got to find the little girl's room." Without waiting to see his response, I turned and fled. "Call me coward. Shoot, you can call me whatever you like. Well, one thing you can't call me is a fool." "Please, can you tell me where the restroom is?" I asked a passing waitress. "Yes, ma'am, I'll show you," she said as she led me down a candlelit hall to a pair of golden doors. "Right through there, ma'am." "Thank you," I said, quickly going in, locking the doors behind me, because several things were becoming clear to me at once as I took a seat. I had been drugged again, but this time with something way more powerful than the volume. I rubbed my hands down the front of my dress, and shivers raced through my body. That felt really good. What was happening to me? I felt hot all over. I was slipping fast. "Father Yah, please, hold on to your servant. Protect me, Abba," I prayed. I got up and I went to the sink, wetting a paper towel with cold water. I put it on my burning neck and moaned from the rush of pleasure that shot through me. I had to go home. I had to get out of here. It wasn't safe. Now, I threw the paper towel in the trash can and slung open the door. Standing there leaning against the door frame with his big body was Solomon. I moaned. Oh, I don't know why. Probably because he looked so good to me right now. He had taken off his jacket somewhere, and his suit shirt hugged his muscled arms. He put his hand around my waist, pulling me out of the bathroom and up against the wall next to it. "You ran from me," he growled through clenched teeth. He used his big body to press me into the wall. I moaned again because it felt amazing. "Solomon," I cried, before his mouth was on mine, kissing me as if he was starved. I clutched his locks, bringing him closer. I didn't know who was starved, me or him. I just wanted to... "Solomon," Margaret's voice called from down the hall. "Dear, the DJ and that singer you requested I find this afternoon is waiting for you. It's time for you young folks to do your thing," she purred. Oh my goodness. She was able to get T. Kelly to come sing for Solomon's birthday party at such a short notice? Who are these people? He looked down at me. "Dance with me." I nodded. He took my hand and led me back into the ballroom. The light coming from the chandelier was now red. I know that if this was any other time, and I wasn't under the influence of some kind of drug, I would be super shy right now, but I didn't feel shy. I felt amazing. Solomon looked into the crowd before he held his head back and bellowed, "Theta!" His voice filled the room. Several of the guys from his frat, the ones he was close to, including Big Bone, all of whom had taken off their suit jackets like Solomon, came to the empty dance floor with us. All right, y'all, the DJ's voice filled the air. We're getting ready to turn it up a bit. This is the part of the night where the older folks might want to take a seat. Oh, some of us can still hang, young man, the mayor yelled drunkenly, causing the crowd to laugh. Yeah, all right, Pop, but this head dance belongs to His Royal Highness, and he dedicates this one to the diamond in the rough. He wants to gift you with a taste of Chicago, Queen. The spotlight landed on me, and I laughed in surprise. Ready, Kels, the DJ said to the group on the stage. The spotlight went back to T. Kelly. He looked at me. This is to the ghetto queen. He held up his glass toward me. Then that famous cry filled the ballroom. Although I wasn't into secular music much when I was back home, being from the west side of Chicago, I recognized the sound of crucial chaos anywhere. And indeed, it made me feel so homesick. It felt good to hear their voices. The four men came out of the crowd holding the mics as them and Kels began the famous rendition of Ghetto Queen. My mouth fell open as I turned back to look at Solomon, but he and his fat brothers were lined up in front of me. Solomon in the middle, two of his brothers to the right, and the other two to his left. When the DJ dropped the beat, they began to move in union, dancing around me as if I was in fact their queen. They did a form of what the girl called stomping the yard, but their movements were much slower and smoother than they were normally. To see this amazing man paying tribute to me, Stormy, from the ghetto, letting everybody in this room know what I was to him, will forever be singed in my memory. I put my hand over my mouth to hide my big Kool-Aid smile. I loved it. He danced up to me and wrapped his hands around my waist, pulling me close. Thank you, I mouthed, looking up into his intense gaze. T. Kelly began to sing down low, and other couples joined us on the dance floor. Solomon felt so good. He pulled me closer, if that was even possible, lowering his head so that his lips lightly brushed my ear. I moaned as a shiver shot through my body. Makati, he whispered over and over. I don't know what that name meant, but it was causing my body to heat up. I felt like I was going to explode. Makati, why won't you love me? I thought I heard him say. Why won't you love me? We can leave the whole world behind if only you'll love me. I frowned. Had he said what I just thought? He spoke so low, and the music was so loud. I could just be hearing things. I looked up at him. His dark gaze was so intense as he looked down at me. Makati, I need you. His eyes pleaded with mine. Those words did something to me, because once again, everybody else disappeared. It was just he and me, his hard body against my soft one. I closed my eyes and gave myself up to the pleasure that shot through me. Makati, he whispered, over and over. I was clutching him to me. I don't know how long we danced, or for how many songs, but there was a quiet voice in me, one that I had always listened to, and it said, wake up, look around, you're in danger. At first, the voice was so quiet. There were other things louder, the music, my lust, the way Solomon was making my body feel. But I had always listened to their voice, and the fact that I was ignoring it now was unsettling. And that fact was like being splashed with a bucket of cold water. My eyes flew open, and right off I knew that something was wrong with Solomon. Not just him, me. What was I doing? We were dancing way too seductively. He had my diamond-decorated leg wrapped around his waist, where he ran his big warm hand up and down it. That was wrong. That wasn't him. I had lived with this man for the last 4 months, and every time a man came to that door, he didn't open it until I was fully dressed. Look what happened earlier. This man was crazy jealous. Why would he now be exposing me to the whole ballroom? I looked around the dance floor, and all the couples were dancing like us. Very inappropriate. Look around you. You're in danger, that little voice said again. I looked up into the crowd and sucked in my breath. There were pairs of eyes that looked back at me that were not human. They glowed red. I stopped and pushed out of Solomon's arms. He reached for me again, but something was wrong with him. His lids were lowered over eyes that were jet black. My hand flew to my mouth. His nostrils flared and he began to breathe in and out really heavy, like he was panting like an animal that was ready to mate. Stormy, he growled, reaching for me. I stepped back out of his reach. Don't run from me, he spoke between clenched teeth. That little muscle began ticking in his jaw. You are in danger, that voice repeated. Desperately, I looked around at the other couples on the dance floor and frowned. Something was wrong with them. They still gyrated against each other, lost in their own lust-filled worlds. I looked around at the people who watched, but none of them looked at the dancers. They all stared at me and Solomon, their eyes glowing red in the dim light. My eyes flew to Solomon's mother, and I cried out at the glowing red, hate-filled gaze that stared back at me. What was happening to me? Solomon just stood there watching me as if I was his prey. Oh dear, Yah, help me. Run, that voice yelled. And I did. I didn't hesitate. I was in a den of demons and Solomon was their king. I didn't stop to get my coat. I didn't care if I froze. I had to get out of here. The men in the uniform standing at the door opened the door for me when they saw me coming. Close that door. Don't let her out, Solomon bellowed from behind me. I turned around and saw him running toward me, Nico and Bone right at his side. I turned and slid through the door before the men could close it. At the bottom of the stairs was a taxi. Standing holding the back door open was a big black man with long cornrows. He was wearing a leather cowboy hat and a leather duster. Get in the car, Bot. His deep voice carried up the stairs. I didn't hesitate. I headed for the stairs. Take it, my feet. These dang heels. I paused and took off one heel, dropping it as I reached for the other. But right then I heard Solomon tell the doorman to move. No time. I flew down the stairs with the one heel on and into the waiting taxi. I looked out the window but was amazed to see the big man stand there looking up at Solomon. His look brought all three of the men pursuing me to a halt. He stood staring at Solomon for a minute before he casually turned and walked around the car to the driver's side. Solomon bent down and picked up my heel, but still he made no move to follow me. He just stood on the stairs, his angry gaze connected with mine. However, as the taxi driver drove us away from this evil place, his look turned into that of a lost little boy. Dear Yah, what is happening? I reached up and pulled the pins from my hair so that I could think. Relief swept through my skull as a heavy mass fell around my shoulders. I had never straightened my hair before. I wasn't even aware it was this long. I stared down at the crown of diamonds in my hand, wiping away tears. For now, he's under their control. But at last, the end has come for that. Yah is calling him. It is time for his work to begin. I looked up confused at the sound of the deep voice. Who are you? You can call me Preacher. Preacher? I don't understand. What is going on? Looks to me like you guys have been drugged. The witch's brew. What was that bot? He asked, looking at me through the rearview mirror. I had a choice. I had a choice whether or not to drink it. It was like y'all wanted to see if I would be strong enough to deny my flesh. The man nodded. And you made the wrong choice, he said calmly. Tears filled my eyes. I did, preacher. I made the wrong choice. It was so easy to do. The environment, the people. I didn't want to be looked at as if you were a servant of Yah. He finished my sentence in a quiet voice. No! No! My hands flew to my mouth as I cried out. Dear Yah, please forgive me. Is he still with me? I whispered my question. Oh, you're asking the wrong question. The question you should be asking is to yourself. What have you learned from this bot? I thought about those people with the glowing demonic eyes. I learned that demons live amongst us, walking, talking in the flesh. More tears came from my eyes, he nodded. And what else? And that no matter what, I need to keep on the full armor of Yah at all times. Yes, bot. Yes. Yah has blessed you with understanding. Wisdom clings to you. Never again ignore her voice. Preacher, Is Solomon a demon? My lips trembled as I asked that question. I couldn't have fallen in love with a demon. I couldn't have. My Ima would be so ashamed of me. I had to get out of Georgia. I didn't like this place. It was not good for me. No, bot. Far from it. He is what demons fear. And it's time for him to do Yah's will. Preacher, Can you drop me off in my dorm? He nodded. After I told him how to get there, I laid my head on the cold window, drawing my arms up close to me. He reached down and turned up the heat, and we rode the rest of the way in silence. I had run, leaving my cape and my purse. I looked down at my foot that still had the one heel on, my decorated toes so pretty in the glass slipper. What a nightmare this night had turned out to be. Yeah, I needed to get out of here. There was a phone in the hall of my dorm. I could use it to call Hadaria. I left my cell phone in my purse, of course. Maybe I could borrow money from her to get my bus ticket to Chicago in the morning. I would just make sure I sent it back to her as soon as I got my first check. He pulled into the dorm parking lot. Preacher, How did you know so much about what happened to us? He exhaled, as if he was tired. I've been around a long time. There ain't much I haven't seen several times before. A great man once said, there is nothing new under the sun. Everything we do has already been done. When wisdom speaks, I listen, no matter what. It's what I have come to learn. You too will learn that, bot. He parked the car before turning slightly in his seat. Change can be scary. The unknown always is. But have faith in the Father and in the Son. He leads you now as he always has. You're waiting for something that you already have, little sister. There are some dark days ahead of us. And your head is just now going to begin his training. He's going to need your strength and encouragement. Stick with him no matter what. Stick with him, Stormy, no matter how scary it may seem. Embrace yourself, because it won't be easy. After giving me that encrypted message, he just got out of the car, came around, opened my door, When I stepped out, he closed it and just turned to get back in the car. "Preacher," I called after him. He stepped back out the car and looked over the top at me. "What does Makhati mean?" Milkha means queen. Makhati means my queen. And then he got in the car, and just as suddenly as he appeared, he was gone. I stood staring at the back of the lights of the taxi until it disappeared from sight. Did that just happen? I looked up at the quiet campus. Everybody was probably deep in their beds, deep asleep. A chill went through me. Although the campus was well lit in certain places, some places were very dark, like the entrance of my dorm. I frowned. There was a light there before. Quickly, I made my way to the door. "You know you had a hell of a night. You had to ask yourself, did it really happen?" "Stormy," a voice said as a dark figure rose from my dorm steps. Oh no, I recognized that voice. "Yourself,"